Welcome to All the Right Marketing, where we talk with business owners and industry leaders in the bibliophile space. Anyone who is interested of books, whether you're a writer, a librarian, a bookseller, an author, a publisher. The truth of the matter here is that we bring guests on to share advice and journeys and their stories through conversations to help you. So today I have Amy Lozak, who spent most of her life in Queens, New York, and now lives in New Jersey. She is an experienced public relations professional specializing in healthcare media relations. Her mother, Sidel, did I say that correctly? Sidel, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Indeed.
Okay, Rosenberg was a teacher and published writer, especially poetry, and most especially haiku and related forms. Sid was a charter member of the Haiku Society of America in 1968, and Amy is a member today. In 2018, just a few years ago, Penny Candy Books, started by two poets, released H is for Haiku, which is illustrated by Sausan Shabali. Amy wrote the introduction. This children's collection was honored by the National Council for Teachers of English as a 2019 notable poetry book. It was also shortlisted for a 2018 Sybil's Award. This is amazing. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Well, this is exciting because you have a very unique situation in that you were part of publishing a book, releasing a book of your mother's work. So tell us a little bit about the journey.
It's been a long journey, which I think might be good to know for many people who are embarking on this journey to achieve a dream to publish a children's book. My mother, Sidel Rosenberg, sadly passed away in 1996 in Queens, New York, and it was a rather unexpected and sudden death. She had been a teacher in New York. She had been a writer for decades, especially poetry and haiku, as well as other things. And she had long wanted to publish a children's book of haiku, and preferably an ABC type of reader. Unfortunately, she didn't get a chance to do that. She was well anthologized and published over the course of her literary life, but she died before she could realize this ultimate dream. And she did try, though. She sent out manuscripts to various publishers. I have some of her old rejection letters, which she kept as a reminder, I guess, to keep on going. But when she passed away in 1996, unfortunately, that dream came to an abrupt end. But even as far back as 96, her family and I said, we have got to finish that journey that she began. But I have to tell you, it took me a long time. It wasn't like, okay, let's just get out there and gather her work and start sending it out. I procrastinated for a long time. It wasn't until about 2011 that I finally said, okay, I got to get my act together because time is not on my side. The hourglass, the sands were running through, and time was not on my side. I mean, I was getting older too. And finally in 2011, I took baby steps. I just started going through the a massive number of things that she had collected, which we had brought with us to our house when we moved to New Jersey, going through her papers, going through her materials, and I found some of her old manuscripts. And I just started going through them and curating them and doing my homework, my research. It was, I am so blessed, Maria, because I had the grace and the encouragement and the support of so many people in the poetry community, in the Kidlit community, my family, my coworkers at the agency where I worked, and bosses and colleagues. I mean, it really did take a village to kind of help me propel myself on this road. And I didn't immediately start sending out to publishers once I had the manuscript finalized. I was going about things in other ways to revive some of her work. I worked with a wonderful nonprofit arts education organization in New York City called Arts for All, arts dash all dot, dash dot org, artsforall.org, to um, to work with teachers in schools on arts education programs. And the haiku that I collected were used to help were used as prompts, if you will, for painting and drawing and music and even theater. And that was a wonderful partnership with Arts for All in New York. And we did that for several years. So I funded the teaching residencies for these programs in schools in the Bronx and in Queens. And so I did things like that to bring Mom's work to life in a way that would be meaningful for young people today. And then finally, I decided to just, okay, let's just do it. I started to send out the manuscript. I researched publishers where you didn't need an agent. Not that I didn't think about getting an agent, I did. But I wanted to be realistic and practical. We are talking about a deceased author. And even though I am her surrogate and her proxy, I wanted to try and see if I could do this on my own. And I knew that that would limit my chances, but I decided to try it that way. And so I started sending out to some wonderful publishers where you don't need agents. I did my homework, and I connected in 2016 with a fairly new children's publisher started by two poets, Chad and Alexis, called Penny Candy Books. And their roster of titles is luminous. I mean, they just have amazing books out now. And they assigned the magnificent Sausan Chalabi to do the lettering and illustrations. And behind me is one of her prints. I'm going to lean to the side.
Oh, well, and for those of you, some people will be watching, some people will be listening. I'm holding the book in my hands. It's gorgeous. It is just,
Isn't it beautiful?
It is so
I know. I know. By the way, that's one of my very favorite poems, Holding Umbrellas, Children like rows of mushrooms glisten in the rain. That happens to be one of my very favorites. And I have no doubt that this is based on a scene that she saw or an experience that she had. And don't forget, she was a teacher. Mm-hmm. But Sausan's art is so vivid and clever, and the lettering makes the words pop.
It really does.
And it really is a beautiful, I think, marriage, if you will, of the poetry and the artwork. And one of the important things to remember about haiku, Maria, is that even though it's a very tight and concise form, it's very, very expansive, and it's meant haiku, which by the way is both singular and plural as a noun. Haiku are meant to be shared. Mm. That is an important purpose of haiku. They are meant to be shared, and there should be space and a place for the reader to engage with the words and fill in anything that may be missing. So the reader and the writer connect that way and complete the picture. So that is why I'm so happy with the way H's for Haiku was produced. And I just could not be happier with the way it turned out, because again, Chad and Alexis are poets themselves. So we shared, and Sausan, I think, has the soul of a poet. And so that vision was shared and brought to life in this book. So again, I started in earnest on this journey many years after Mom died in October of '96. I started in earnest to kind of, okay, it's time to just do this, come what may. That was in 2011, and I connected with Penny Candy in 2016, and the book came out in during National Poetry Month in 2018.
And
quite something.
And part of this journey has, your mother has led you to your own, she inspired you to write yourself, of your own haiku writing. So what is next for your inspiration that you gathered from your mom? what are we doing now? What are you doing now?
Well, first of all, she would be shocked because even though she tried to engage me when I was very young in writing haiku and she wanted to share her work with me, and we always knew how important haiku as an art form, as a literary form was to her. But we were also, I was anyway, kind of indifferent the older that I got. I do regret that now. And I realized later on how much of an influence she did have on me. So I started writing my own haiku and trying to learn, because you really never stop learning about this incredibly layered form of poetry. You really don't. I will always be a beginner. And I think after 30 some odd years, my mother still considered herself a beginner. She was still learning and practicing the form. But I do have a second haiku picture book out on submission, and I'm working on a third. The two, the one that's out and the one I am hoping to finish up quite soon, combines both our work. So that's the slight twist. It's a mother-daughter collaboration, both books, both manuscripts. So I'm excited about that. And I continue to write my own haiku and to read the work of amazing poets.
It's such a beautiful
Yeah.
legacy too, to keep your mother alive in the world and just to inspire younger writers, and such a beautiful gift that you've given her and a gift that she has given you. And being a mother myself, I love hearing you say, I wasn't inspired back then, because all these things that we do as mothers for our children, you hope that it's going to make a difference. And sometimes you might not see that early on,
Yes.
but it somehow, as parents, we are impacting our little ones. And I just love it. And I have to tell you, this is going to be our bedtime story tonight. Is we're going to share this story, H is for
I'm
haiku,
delighted.
with my own 3 children. So H is for haiku will be shared in our home tonight. Tell me a little bit more. I did notice something really special. There is diversity in your book. And I'm not sure, it was an association that you started for Jewish women writers? Because I did notice that we have.
So I didn't start it. I came to it. So this is
okay.
So wonderful. The book Meshuggahs, and this is the good thing about social media.
Yeah.
And places like Facebook. We found each other online. It was in a way quite organic. It's really a wonderful community of people that I've built up on Facebook. And so we found each other that way. And one of the original members said, wouldn't it be great if we could form a group of women who write Jewish children's books, and we can serve as a resource to the Jewish community and to Jewish families. And from that little brainstorm spark, a group grew. And so we are thebookmeshuggahs.com. Easy to find us on Facebook, and we have our website and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram. We may even be on, we're across social media, but it's thebookmeshuggahs.com. And we are 18 women around the country and also in Israel who write kids books. And a few of us have met in real life as well, which is great. And we love each other. I mean, it's a highly congenial and talented group. Award-winning authors and illustrators in this group, and I'm so honored to be a member of it. We are having a haiku contest. Chai means life in Yiddish. So it's our second annual haiku contest, which is open really to anybody who wants to submit haiku around Jewish theme.
Awesome.
Jewish themes and topics. And the information is on our website. It's on our Facebook page. The deadline is May 31, and obviously it's free to enter, and there are prizes, mostly books and other things. And we encourage anybody who wants to submit to submit. It's open to everyone. But the themes should be focused on Jewish things, if at all possible.
And can I ask you, is there a meaning for the word Meshuggah?
Meshuggah, Meshuggah is kind of an affectionate way of saying a little ungapachki, which I should also do. A little crazy, a little unusual, eccentric, unique. That's what it means.
That's
We're
fantastic.
having fun with that word. We're being playful with it.
Well, you know what, Amy, what we will do as we wrap up today, I will make sure that we, in our show notes, that we link to the book Meshuggahs. We will link to the contest that you talked about. We will also link to your publisher and your social media handle of Twitter. We'll definitely link there too, so people can follow up with you and continue to see where you're at on this beautiful journey. Without further ado, I want to thank you for being part of the podcast and for sharing this beautiful, beautiful story with us and the creation and the journey you took to get to it from, from poetry to published work. So thank you so much today.
And if I can just say, anybody, if I can do it, I think anybody can. And as long as you have support and you believe in yourself and you allow for the fact that there will be bumps on that road. It wasn't a smooth linear road, but it can be done. So I encourage people with this dream, go for it. There's never a good time, but it's always the best time. Just go for it. Thank you so much, Maria.
You're welcome. Thank you, Amy.